Now on Coast TV News.
Erin erodes beaches, a look from above at how the hurricane hit Delmarva.
Waves crashing at Cape Henlopen State Park. Some beaches still closed, but some people still taking the risk.
Flooding and erosion, DNREC's next steps after Hurricane Erin leaves her mark on Delmarva.
Erin now a post-tropical cyclone as the storm lifts into the North Atlantic. Still going to deal with some residual effects here on Delmarva. I'll tell you what those are, plus a gorgeous weekend ahead.
This is Coast TV News at 5.
Driving through water, a Fenwick Island street looking more like a river.
Good evening. I'm Madeline Overturf.
And I'm Charlie Sakaitis. We begin tonight with a look at Erin's remnants here along the coast.
Erin's flooding is still taking over our roads especially. Let's take a look at how high the water got in Fenwick Island. All this footage from our Coast Copter. And in Bethany, the water was shimmering on downtown streets, kind of like a lake. In Ocean City, crews were out repairing a walkway. The inlet parking lot just absolutely covered with sand.
Over to Cape Henlopen State Park now. This was the scene at one of the beaches there earlier. Coast TV News reporter Emma Aiken live in Cape Henlopen State Park. Emma, areas of the park are still closed.
Charlie, usually you can drive right onto this beach behind me, but today, like several other days this week, this entrance remains closed due to what DNREC calls high surf and unsafe conditions out there. But that didn't stop a lot of people from coming to the beach today, and even some braving the water. Waves crashing at the beaches in Cape Henlopen State Park, and plenty of people there to watch them. That's despite the fact that DNREC says all surfing, drive-on, and swimming beaches are closed due to high surf and unsafe conditions. Coast TV did not see any cars on the beach Friday. As for swimmers, that was a different story. Bianca and Brianna Neves say the weather earlier this week already put a damper on their vacation, and when the sun was shining today, they weren't about to miss out again.
When we came in and everybody's in the water, we were kind of like, okay, we're not going to go deep in the water, but maybe like wet our feet and just stay by the shore.
The mother and daughter say the rules when they showed up were unclear.
In the entrance, the lady did say that it was closed, but being that there was so many people here, we're like, I guess it's not closed. So, that's when we kind of came in.
Rhonda Kane showed up to the closed beach too, but she says she's staying away from the water.
I don't put myself in competition with nature. If it's too rough to have people swim, I stay out of it.
For now, DNREC closures technically continue, but on unguarded beaches like this one, people are exercising their own judgment about what feels safe. DNREC says the surf fishing drive-on closures like here will now extend through tomorrow. They've already canceled and refunded Saturday's reservations. If that changes, DNREC says they'll post updates to their social media. Reporting live here in Cape Henlopen State Park, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
Thank you, Emma. The camp store at the South Inlet Campground, that's closed due to flooding, and all drive-on surf fishing crossings remain closed at the Delaware Seashore State Park and Fenwick Island State Parks. Water access is closed at Towers Beach and Fenwick Island State Park. The state parks say the South Inlet Day area is open under a yellow flag condition.
On your screen now is what Hurricane Erin did to the north side of the Indian River Inlet. Erosion, and just a few miles up from Route 1, there's flooding from the bay side. That caused Route 1 to close overnight. Coast TV News reporter Brandon Ferguson live there. Brandon, DNREC says 10 to 14 feet of dune is gone.
Maddie, as you can see, heavy erosion here on the north side of the Indian River Inlet has casted this steep hill of sand, and you can see a shadow coming on us now from this sand. And for reference, I'm 5'10", and you can see how the sand is towering above me. DNREC says they will do final tests early next week to determine how much sand and dune was lost because of Hurricane Erin. But Erin did not only bring us erosion problems here on the coast, she also gave us some flooding issues. On your screen now is footage from Tower Road. Now, Tower Road is just south of Dewey Beach, and this bayside flooding caused Route 1 to close overnight. DNREC says the bayside flooding was unique to this storm.
This storm in particular just happened to have very strong winds that were driving the water into the inland bays. And during those tide cycles, it wasn't able to escape. So that's something that DelDOT is very well aware of. It's something that DNREC is paying attention to.
Let's start with the flooding on Tower Road. DelDOT says they will continue to monitor that today and throughout the weekend, just in case they do have to close Route 1 again. Now, when it comes here to the erosion on the north side of the Indian River Inlet, DENREC says the Army Corps of Engineers will be doing a beach renourishment event in September. Live at the Indian River Inlet, Brandon Ferguson, Coast TV News.
Thank you, Brandon. And this brings us right into our Coast TV poll for the day. We want to know what worries you most about that beach erosion.
Let's take a look at the results so far. Take a look at your screen, and 57% say the cost of replenishment, 10% say environmental harm, and 33% say beach damage.
If you want to vote, you can do that at coasttv.com right now, or you can use our mobile app.
Let's go ahead and take a live look outside into Laurel. A beautiful look out there, especially on the western side of the county, as we turn it over to our first alert meteorologist, Chris Mastrobuono.
Good evening, Maddie. And Charlie, I'll tell you what, it's been a spectacular day, but at the coast, still dealing with that rough surf. We're seeing seas 5 to 9 feet. Folks doing everything they can to enjoy the beach without stepping in the ocean, because we're still going to be dealing with that risk of rip currents through the weekend. 74 right now in Rehoboth. See those wave heights 7 to 8 feet with that wind coming out of the northeast. Now, the concern going into the evening is the coastal flood warnings. Those are in effect through 2 a.m. That's due in part to the surge of water we expect with high tide this evening. Could see some moderate flooding even in the back bays as we go into the evening. Inundation up to 1 to 2 feet in those low-lying areas, especially between about 8 and 9 o'clock tonight along the Delaware coast. Coming up, we'll talk about that threat of rip currents continuing into the weekend and then some extended period of fall-like weather into next week. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Maddie.
All right, Chris, thank you. Ocean City Jeep Fest has been cruising all day under clear skies.
And with Erin pulling away steadily, the event is about to kick into full gear.
Let's check in now with our chief meteorologist, Paul Williams. All right in the action for today's recap and what's ahead for tomorrow.
Well, what a difference a day makes. Great sunshine, smooth sand, the course is ready. Woo! 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 That's the language, I guess. But anyway, listen, Day 2 went without a hitch. This time, we didn't have to worry about Erin. Take a look at some of the things that we had a chance to enjoy on Day 2 without being bothered by Mother Nature. Now, with Day 2, we actually had at 10 o'clock through mid the afternoon, all 3 shifts of the Kicker Sand Course kicked off. Meanwhile, the Convention Center Vendor Village, the crowd swelled up from 10 to 5 visitors. Woo! Back! Sorry, you guys. Anyway, and 10 to 5 visitors have browsed the regional and national Jeep gear and got a chance to enjoy live music. And now we're looking at Day 3. Now, as far as Day 3 is concerned, we bring out the director of this event. Tell me something real quick, brother. First of all, appreciate it.
Thank you.
What is it that we're going to have on Saturday that we haven't already experienced with the past 2 days?
We're going to have more Jeeps, more fun, and more things to do. At the Convention Center, we have our final show and shine. That's a competition of the best Jeeps in the Mid-Atlantic and around the country. We'll do that in the middle of the day at the Convention Center. We're going to have more people on the sand course in the morning, a bigger beach crawl, and we don't have to worry about Erin anymore.
Yeah, because she's not invited.
That's right.
All right, appreciate it very much. Once again, everything's going on without a hitch. They were able to get out here and get their sand and the course mapped out. In fact, next hour, we drove the course ourselves. So be sure you come on out and enjoy the Jeep Fest. And this time, as we said, Erin's not going to be here to crash the party. I'm Coast TV Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams, live from Jeep Fest in Ocean City. Back to you.
Thank you, Paul. 1 week after President Trump hosted Russian President Putin for a peace summit in Alaska, the hope for an end to the bloody conflict seemed to be fading. The president himself alluded to that to NBC News. But Garrett Hake shows us how Putin's close confidant told NBC a meeting between Zelensky and Putin is not in the works.
Thank you very much, everybody.
President Trump today acknowledging a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine remains elusive, despite all his efforts to end the war.
This one I thought would have been in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty, and it's turning out to be the most difficult.
Those efforts include that extraordinary summit last week with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The meeting itself yielded little progress towards peace. The president, though, still working on setting up a face-to-face with Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
We're going to see if Putin and Zelensky will be working together. You know, that's like oil and vinegar a little bit. They don't get along too well for obvious reasons, but we'll see.
But today, in an exclusive interview with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov making clear there is no meeting planned and there won't be for some time.
Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky when the agenda would be ready for a summit. And this agenda is not ready at all.
Ukrainian President Zelensky, who also met with Trump and European leaders at the White House Monday, says he's willing to meet Putin with or without Trump, but Putin is doing everything possible to prevent that. And still the war rages on, with Russian troops marching on Ukrainian villages, and Ukraine striking Russian refineries, causing a gas shortage in Moscow.
The president today repeatedly pressed on next steps, said he will decide within 2 weeks whether he thinks it's appropriate to ramp up pressure and sanctions on Russia or simply let the two countries keep fighting. Garrett Hake, NBC News, Washington.
Ocean City after Erin, why lifeguards are still on alert.
And we're going to continue to see that dangerous threat of rip currents, unfortunately, through the weekend. We'll talk about that, plus the coastal flooding threat tonight through the weekend coming up.
But first, a look at your cool things to do.
This is Coast TV News at 5.
If your weekend plans are looking a little dull and bland, don't worry. Even though a few events had to be canceled, there is still fun on the calendar.
There is. Coast TV's Christina D. Roberta's has your cool things to do.
Things are heating up in Berlin tomorrow, literally, with the Berlin Chili Pepper Festival. From noon to 5 p.m., it's mariachi, food vendors, and competition. Support Children's Beach House Saturday night at the Beach Barbecue in Lewis. Organizers promise Margaritaville vibes and live music. Jeep Fest continues in Ocean City Saturday and Sunday. Bring your Jeep to the beach and ride the sand course or enjoy the show from the sidelines. You can visit CoastTV.com and click on Cool Things to Do for more details.
Well, the surf and the coastal flooding issue, really the only thing putting a damper on what has been really a beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky. Ocean view 73, dew point 57, so it's very comfortable out there. And it's really going to be a pleasant evening under clear skies. We fall to 69 by around 9. In fact, many areas away from the coast tonight dipping back into the 50s. We're at 74 Rehoboth, 78 in Milton, 78 in Bridgeville, the warm spot there. Milford coming in at 80 degrees. Now, winds not nearly as strong as where we were at yesterday. Winds right now generally about 5 to 10 miles an hour. There is now post-tropical Erin losing its tropical characteristics as all that pushes up into the North Atlantic. Clear skies throughout much of Del Mar thanks to high pressure. And we still have that high surf advisory. That's up through 8. Now, we're going to be dealing with the rip current risk really through the weekend as the seas slowly begin to relax. Now, the coastal flood warning has been extended through Sunday morning at 2 a.m. So we're going to be dealing with flooding issues here over the next few high tide cycles, really up and down the Delmarva coast, with approximately about 1 to 2 feet of inundation in those low-lying areas. And we could see some flooding there in the bay as well. But high pressure in control for our weather, at least through the start of the weekend, and then we'll see a cold front push through at the tail end of it. So there's that moderate threat of coastal flooding here through the coast and the back bays, up to 1 to 2 feet of inundation here really through the evening. High tide coming into Lewis at 9:08 as we make our way down to Rehoboth 8:07, Indian River Inlet 9:12, and then as we push into Ocean City 8:24, Assateague Island 8:14, and Public Landing there 8:02. Other than that, it's going to be a beautiful evening from a temperature standpoint. 57 to 62, starry skies. The weekend shaping up to be fantastic. The little wrinkle there, isolated thunderstorm chance primarily Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and then that rip current risk is going to continue, but then a taste of fall by next week. Temperatures tomorrow, 81 Lewis, 78 Rehoboth, 80 in Ocean City under mostly sunny skies. Wave heights tomorrow, 2 to 6 feet along the Delmarva coast, but still dealing with that high risk of rip currents. There's those lows by tomorrow morning, mid to upper 50s away from the coast, lower 60s at the coast, just gorgeous. And by the afternoon, mostly sunny skies. And then as we go into Sunday, a little tick of humidity rolling back in for Sunday. And then a few spotty showers or thunderstorms, nothing all that widespread as that cold front pushes through. So you see the mugging meter here, we bump things up, a little humidity there into Sunday, and then it drops big time, and we're going to really feel like fall by the middle part of next week. So the secondary front comes through Tuesday, ushering in that below normal air as we round out the month of August. We're at 84 on Monday, and then look at those temperatures next week. Mid to upper 70s for high temperatures and overnight lows in the 50s. It's going to feel pretty good next week.
All right, Chris, thank you. The sun is back in Ocean City after days of Hurricane Erin, but the officials say water is still too dangerous for swimmers. Clear skies and calmer winds are welcoming back visitors, but waves still off limits. OC Beach Patrol says rip currents are strong, which is why the ocean is only open to surfers at the moment.
This would be someone that's a local. They've grown up here. They've been around here their whole life. They're more comfortable in the water. They have a flotation device with them, and we try and do that. It's also a good gauge as to what's going on out there.
Beach Patrol says they'll continue watching conditions closely and could lift restrictions as the weekend is underway, but the Beach Patrol's reminding everybody to stay shallow and listen to lifeguards. Coming up tonight on the Delmarva Sports Network, it is live Shorebirds baseball at 7 p.m. They continue their series at Purdue Stadium against the Kannapolis Cannonballers. And then it's the final score.
And coming up, a new injunction forces alligator Alcatraz to halt taking in detainees. What this means for the facility in the Everglades is next. Stay tuned on Coast TV News at 5. A preliminary injunction forbids alligator Alcatraz, an ICE facility in Florida, from taking any additional detainees. It's part of a case filed by environmental groups and Native American tribes. They say that the camp has a negative impact on the Florida Everglades. The decision requires lighting, fencing, generators, gas, and sewage lines to be removed. That would effectively shut the detention camp down.
Canada is removing tariffs on some American goods. Friday, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he's lifting tariffs placed on an extensive list of American products. This takes effect September 1st. It will apply to goods complying with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Tariffs on steel, aluminum, and American cars will stay in place. The announcement comes after Carney and Trump spoke Thursday. Carney said he and Trump will continue discussions on trade issues in key sectors.
Netflix now offering recommendations based on your zodiac sign? The new astrology hub called Your Zodiac Watch List launched on Thursday. The row of curated titles matches the vibes of the corresponding zodiac signs. For example, it recommends those born under the Aquarius sign to binge Stranger Things. The collections will start appearing on your Netflix profile this weekend.
Chipotle has announced it's partnered with a drone delivery provider named Zipline. That means customers will be able to order Chipotle through the app and get it delivered straight to their house. That's kind of cool. Right now, only available for a small number of customers in Dallas. However, Chipotle, which has a lot of locations here, hopes to expand the service to more cities in coming weeks.
Governor Matt Meyer has signed a bill to ease staffing shortages. This applies to Delaware's schools and state agencies that operate 24-hour shifts. The bill modernizes employment rules for state pensioners willing to return to work. Advocates say the law will benefit both the workforce and Delaware families. And now here's a live look into Dover. One more check on the forecast coming up after the break.
Well, we're going to carry this beautiful sunshine we're seeing today into the weekend. Our Saturday looking mostly sunny, 82 degrees. Sunday, 83, a bit muggier with a chance of an isolated thunderstorm in the afternoon, early evening hours. The only wrinkle, though, is the rip current risk is going to continue at least through the weekend, but we are going to be seeing some of the seas begin to relax themselves into early next week. Monaco, Holland, Lewis, Delaware. You're the winner of our Paul Davis umbrella there. And you get your forecast anytime by dialing the First Alert Weather Phone, sponsored by Broxton, Dallas, and Federico. Now, your 10-day forecast shows that front coming through on Sunday, and then we'll see another front come through Monday to Tuesday. Behind that front, it turns very cool and dry, and we stay pretty nice through most of next week. Highs in the 70s and overnight lows in the 50s as we round out August, and we stay relatively below average through the extent of that 10-day forecast.
All right, Chris, thank you, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 5.
For more news, more local weather, download our Coast TV News app.
Inside Edition is up next.
And we'll see you later tonight for Coast TV News at 6. Have a great evening.